Well, I'm ready. Okay, ready to go? All right. I had something I was going to say to start out, and I can't remember what it is. It'll come to me. I have 5 questions here. Maybe we'll go to that because that's important, your input. And this is probably one of the most important ones. How or can a closed group help a newcomer who doesn't know he's alcoholic? We have warped this whole idea of a closed meeting. I think it's criminal to insist when someone comes that doesn't know that they say, you must say you're an alcoholic or you have to leave. Bill would be rolling in his grave. We're to fling the door open to new alcoholics. A closed meeting is for people who have a problem with alcohol and don't know what to do with it, and the whole purpose of an AA group is to help them find out. Okay? So my opinion of that, a closed group can help a new alcoholic by living by these principles. When they come in, help them find out. Now, one of the groups I belonged to had a closed meeting. We did a thing, and maybe this will help. It was a call-up meeting, meaning that the chairperson called people up. You had 5 to 7 minutes, and there was only one topic: what you were like, what happened, what you're like now. The group was designed so you could bring new people, and they would hear nothing but AA and recovery. But a number of non-alcoholics began to show up because we're active, and we went to prisons and treatment centers and all, and from time to time they'd show up. So out of courtesy to our chairperson, we spent 4 meetings putting together what they should say if someone says, I'm an addict. Because at a closed meeting, if they're just an addict, they shouldn't stay. If they ask that question, it was written out there, the chairperson would ask them, do you have a problem with alcohol? And I can remember I was the first chairperson that got one of those, naturally. And the lady said, no, I am just a drug addict. Our group conscience was at that point, 5 or 6 of our members broke off, and we would tell her, you came for a meeting, you'll get one. You can't stay in this one because this is for people with alcohol problems. But these folks will go with you into a separate room and have a meeting. It was essentially a 12-step call. We felt that was the most loving way to handle that situation. The disruption that comes sometimes from that makes the case to stay with primary purpose. I've seen it just start tearing groups apart. My friend Chuck Brooks down in Florida, he's over in Orlando. You know Chuck, don't you? Have you run into him? Great AA member. And he was 23 years sober when this happened. He had founded a group 23 years before that, helped found one. Had occasion to leave town for a while. When he came back, he took a new guy to his group because he knew he'd get treated correctly. And there was a straight drug addict chairing the meeting, and all the talk he heard was about drugs. And he stood up and said, what is this? And the chairperson said, look, old man, if you alcoholics want a meeting, go start your own. This one's ours. In the short time he was gone, since nobody stood up, it became a different kind of meeting. And for about 2 years, we had to sit on him and make him write inventory damn near every day. We don't want to tear this thing up, and we don't want to kill anybody either. If they come here, they came for a reason. Let's devise ways that we can be of genuine use to them. One of the things we did in Denver, again in response to this, there was a period of time, 9-10 years ago, when suddenly we got, it seemed like a flood of methadone addicts and cocaine addicts, straight cocaine addicts, coming to the AA meetings, very disruptive. Their whole attitude was disruptive. And we don't want to throw anybody out, but we also know several people who are both alcoholic and cocaine addicts. So we pulled them aside, took them through the steps, helped them get strong, because when we ask them, why do you guys keep coming here, they say, you have a strength and a quality we don't have. So we did what Bill suggested we do. If you don't have it going on in your town, help them get it started. Help start NA, help start CA, help start OA, help start EA. What do you have to do? Go to their meetings for a while. Show them the solution. CA in Denver is very strong now. The alcoholics who also have a drug problem and go to CA also come to the AA meetings and fish the straight addicts out. We don't have to worry about it. They take them where they can be of some help, and it's growing and growing and growing. Back in the late 70s, several of our North Side groups suddenly were inundated by people from Overeaters Anonymous, nearly taking over the meetings. We couldn't have an AA meeting. This was wrong. So we did the same thing. Several of us took some of the leaders and took them through the big book and showed them the steps and the recovery process, and they disappeared into the ether somewhere. They went back to OA and quit coming to our meetings. And I understand that right now OA is really, really strong in Utah. It has filtered out. So if we do our job right, it's God's job. Let's get these people the help they want. That's what we did. They helped me find out whether I was an alcoholic or not. They let me come to the meeting until I knew. And that's why I'm here today. Does that, whoever asked that question, does that help any? Come up with your own solutions too. Okay. The best thing to do, our second meeting at home, by the way, is an answer to this. We have the formal meeting where we have a specific topic. And I wish it weren't true, but it is true. At any formal meeting, I'm only partly listening. I'm also formulating what I'm going to say when it's my turn. And I wish it weren't so, but yeah. Oh yeah. But at breakfast afterwards, it's an informal meeting. And that's where we do our 12-step work. And that's where we have a real meeting. And the importance of that, we had an event occur. Since we meet in the hospital, in the cafeteria, in the morning there was an old boy that was clearly an alcoholic and also clearly had been badly damaged physically. He'd been in a car wreck. And he was just kind of half a bubble off center. But we knew him just by looking in his eyes. And Denver puts out a free newspaper, and he'd pick up a stack of those on his way into breakfast. He ate breakfast there because it's cheap. And he'd give those out. It made him feel like he was paying for his space. And we'd stop by his table and chat with him. Eventually we'd sit with him for a little while, and we got the whole story. The car wreck was caused when he was drunk, and he'd been drinking for a long time. We're busy. We spent nearly a year gently going after this guy because he's had some damage, and we could run him off in a hurry. One day at breakfast, he had a grand mal seizure and went over backwards and hit his head on the floor. And if you know head wounds, there was blood everywhere. I've never seen the response that we saw that day from the hospital staff all the way to the administrator. Within 2 minutes, we're there. Now, we're sane, so we did not go over to help him. He's in a hospital, for God's sake. Leave him alone and let the pros take care of him. Okay? But we kind of hovered. This is a friend of ours now. He's not able to come to regular meetings yet in his own mind, but he's one of us. And I was deeply touched when they had him all taken care of. Several of the nurses came over to make sure we were okay. They'd been watching us. And they needed to know that we were okay with what had just happened. They came to help us. See, people watch us. And what happens to AA, we're not the frontline troops. The police are, the doctors are, the lawyers are. They're the ones who make the first contact, and we have an obligation to them. They need to be able to trust us with whoever they're going to send us. They need to know that when they get here, they will get what we tell them they're going to get. And that puts some heat on us. That means that they're watching. Do I do what I say? Are we dealing with alcoholism? We had social services one time in Denver in the early 80s. Suddenly, all these unwed mothers were showing up. Social services had sent them to our meetings. They didn't know what we did. We hadn't been doing our job right. We hadn't told them. They just knew that when alcoholics went there, they quit drinking. And I guess they figured if whatever we had, the unwed mothers could quit doing whatever they did to get that way if they came here. So, it didn't work because we've never figured that one out. But we had to go back and talk to them for a little bit. I need to be trustworthy to the folks that are watching me. Okay? And they do watch, make no mistake about that. Flying in here, the plane was full of old people. It was weird. They were all coming back from Hawaii. My peers. But yeah, I was at the gym the other day. I'll tell you how my head thinks. I'm 70, and I'm wanting to start swimming laps because my feet hurt. And I'm looking at the pool, and I thought, I'm going to have to find a time to come over here when the pool isn't full of old people. Okay. That's how I feel. Anyway, my seatmate and I were just chatting about cruises. I like cruises. We just got off of one. I'm going to go on the first one I can get on again. They're fun. And we're chit-chatting about that. And then I started reading my book. At the end of the flight, he asked me, do you live in the valley? He's starting up a new conversation. And I said, no, I live in Aurora, Colorado. He says, well, why are you here this weekend? I said, well, I'm going to a workshop. He said, oh, what kind of workshop? I said, all right, here, he asked. I said, I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm going to a workshop. And he said very quietly, oh, you're one of those, and quickly turned away and started talking to his wife. Okay. Now, I don't know who he's been watching, but he's been watching somebody, one of those. What is your opinion of dating in AA? Who said? I'll put it this way. My second marriage was an AA marriage, and it lasted 5 years and ended in the worst disaster I have ever been through. 9 years sober, I found a sane woman and married her, and we've been together 27 years. She does not go to meetings. She doesn't go to Al-Anon. She loves AA, but she's sane. I can shorten that up. What do I think of dating? God saved me from that. Never been any good at it. Dating is about the first time you're together, you both lie as much as you can to impress the other one. By the third or fourth time, you have to start telling the truth, and it's over. Okay. Not meaning to be funny, I think it's a very dangerous thing, particularly when you're young in sobriety. Be very careful of that. It's the second most powerful urge we have is for companionship, because it encompasses all kinds of things, and it can be a distraction until you're solidly founded in the spiritual life. Be very careful of that. It has a great potential for harm. I don't say you can't do it, but the guys I work with can't do it until we're through with the steps. And the deal is, if they do, they don't get to talk to me about it when it comes apart. I don't want to hear it. Be very careful. On the other hand, I know some successes there, but not many. That's like the question we had at Prosa one time. They had a potluck, and they had great food and a great chocolate cake, and we're in the middle of one of these ask-it basket things, and it was serious. We were getting ready to put on the gloves and go after it. And out of the ask-it basket comes the question, where can I get the recipe for that chocolate cake? How do you keep AA and family separate? I don't. AA is far more than meetings and 12-step work and taking people through the steps. AA is a way of life. And while my wife does not go to she goes to some formal meetings. If I'm going to be there to workshops, she loves AA people and some of the things we do. My AA life is my life, and I don't keep them separate. My children know you, and we have had some marvelous lessons from that. I'll tell you a couple of them because they're important. When people come to my house, when they want me to sponsor them, we go through a series of cutouts to make sure they meet it. Because what will happen is once we agree that I'm going to sponsor you, I only do one thing. We will sit down and read through this book, and together you and I will do everything in it together. That's the only thing I know that works. And you have to come to my house at 6 in the morning to make that happen. And there's several reasons for that. One of them is that you probably have a job, and I did at that time, and that's when I do my 12-step work. The second is that I know you have to surrender. And I don't want you to surrender to me, and you don't know how to surrender to God, so I'll get you to surrender to time. You'll show up at 6 o'clock, and we'll go to work. And somewhere along the way, a real surrender will take place. I have a chair here by the front door and a couch over here, and when the people first come, I have a room upstairs, too, that you have to earn your way into. No, I'm serious. It is a room of absolute peace, and nothing goes in there that isn't peaceful. I've designed it that way. It's the same thing I was told. You can't go to the regular meeting where there's real people until you finish this. So we sit on the couch, and part of the reason for that is that I want you to see how a recovered alcoholic and his family prepare for the day. That's the hard one, isn't it? Getting up for the day and preparing, because that's when the terrors come. Oh my God, I've got to go to work. Oh my God, I'm already late. Oh my God, when I get there, he's going to yell at me. Screw it, I'm calling in sick. Preparing for the day. What do I do next? Do I pee first or brush my teeth first? I don't know. Yeah. No, I can tell you, not quite that intense yet. Keep drinking, you'll get there. Okay. I want you to see that, because it's a better example than anything I could tell you, is to see how a recovered alcoholic and his family prepare for the day and interact with each other, because deep in every one of us is the urge for family. When I work with inmates, I do a little lecture where what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. I don't do AA with them. This is in treatment. And at the top of the list every time, what makes sense comes family. Over and over, that's our urge. So I want you to see how that works. Because if you stay sober long enough, instead of an urge for a drink, you're going to have an urge for a family. Whatever you decide that is, that's what you're going to have. Anyway, when I married Jackie, she had 2 little girls, 3 and 5, and I'm their real dad because I raised them. And one of them's very conservative, and the other one is mouthy. And her I encourage. She's my little activist. She will get right in your face. And she wants answers, and you, by God, better have them. But she's sweet. She's also the best mother I've ever seen. Anyway, I only sponsor alcoholics, and the one I was working with this particular time also happened to be gay. I don't worry about that. That's up to him. I'm concerned with the alcoholism. My girl's real father was a Denver detective, a vice detective, so he's been playing with the scum of the earth for years, and he's a little bit deaf. And I heard her start talking, and Sam was sitting there, and she was talking really ugly about gay people, saying some really ugly things. I knew that wasn't her. She'd been visiting her dad, and it was coming out. So I said, Kelly, let me tell you, and Sam's watching me to see what I'm going to do, because she might as well have been talking to him. I said, Kelly, tell you what, some of the people you love the most are gay, because my kids are involved with all of the people, and we don't care about that. She says, oh, who? I said, you figure it out. When you can figure it out, come talk to me. And Sam relaxed, and about a week later she came to me and she said, you know, it just isn't worth the effort. Okay, so we all got a lesson from that. One morning she came roaring down the stairs and stopped on about the 2nd step and said, excuse me. And that's attitude. Polite, but attitude. Excuse me. And we're in life and death here in the big book, you know. Don't interrupt that. I said, what do you want, honey? She says, I live here too, you know, and you've never introduced me to this person. And we both got a great lesson in manners. The spiritual life is one of good manners, primarily. Okay? So I don't separate my family in AA. It's all one deal. Straight AA, my wife set me straight on that one time. I've been in service since my 6th week in AA, and at this particular time I was delegate, which meant I had some district meetings to go to, and I'm headed off. We're fairly new married, and I'm all dressed and ready to go, and she's still sitting in a chair reading a book. I said, aren't you coming, honey? She put her book down quietly and said, let me explain something to you. We'll drive to Fort Collins, and it'll take us about an hour and a half, and that'll be pleasant. And then we'll get to this building, and we'll go inside, and you'll park me in a chair by the door in a room full of people I don't know and have no common interest with, and then leave me for about an hour and a half. And then we'll get in the car and drive home for an hour and a half, and that'll be pleasant. She said, I'd just soon stay here and read my book. Thank you. That's clear. Okay. Don't separate AA in your family. AA is a way of life. How did you explain the primary purpose to the people in Russia? Whoa. I was privileged to be part of a team of 4 that went to the Soviet Union in 1988 for 17 days to explain share AA and what it was to Russian officials so it could happen in the Soviet Union. They had been here and asked us to come over there. There was one group in Moscow, the Moscow Beginners Group, and they were celebrating their first year as a group. They had been formed by a non-alcoholic Episcopal priest who was stark raving mad. He was wonderful. I love crazy people. They are who they are. I mean, he was so crazy he got us inside the Kremlin to watch the Georgian dancers front row. I like that kind of crazy. He moved and shook. He got things done. I think mostly because people were scared to death of him. But whatever it did, this little group had already formed up and lived by the traditions. They were straight AA, as straight as anything I've ever heard. We loved them. So we didn't have to do that to the group, but the officials were a different thing. Lord, this is an hour-long talk. How am I going to answer that? We were interrogated by a number of officials. And I mean interrogated. They want to know about AA. I remember one after about an hour, because we never defended AA. That's one of the first things we did. We didn't defend it. We just explained it and shared our experience with us. At the end of his interrogation of us, he said, well, what could we do to help you get this started here? And we said, give them room. What I meant by that is give them some room, okay? At that time, you couldn't have more than 5 people gathered without a permit. And every gathering place was bugged. That's what they told us at the embassy. There were 10,000 people in Moscow whose only job was to listen to the rest of them and then report on it. And we thought, well, that's pretty neat. Let them bug the AA meetings, because if the statistics mean anything, there's about 80 million people here. That means at least 8 billion of them are alcoholic, and it's probably higher than that. And if there's 10,000 listening and the figures go right, there's about 1,200 of them are alcoholic. Let them bug it. Free 12-step work. Okay? Give them space, and they gave them space. We had a meeting on Thanksgiving Day in one of their buildings. We were just very clear that Alcoholics Anonymous is about alcoholism. That's all. We didn't have to explain it formally. That's just the way it is. They had already read this book. The literature we took them was kind of like this. They were straight with that. The alcoholics that were already in AA knew what was going on. The one thing that turned it, I can remember this, because I can think on my feet. I'm an old con man, and I can think on my feet. I was kind of the spokesman for the group. I carried the literature, and when embarrassing questions were asked, I got to answer them. Not that I was right, but I'm slick. There was a man who had written a book about Alcoholics Anonymous that was very clear, a man named Shikarev. Sold out 50,000 copies the first 2 weeks. That says somebody's interested, doesn't it? Their method on a book like that is when it sold out, they had a public meeting. There were over 400 people there from all walks of life. The chief of police in Moscow and regular people and treatment people, everybody was there. And there was a panel answering questions so the second edition revisions could be made. They were critiquing the book. And we showed up, American AA members. So naturally, we're on the spot now. When that was done, they wanted to ask us some questions. And my compatriots just pointed at me, and I got to go to the microphone. Now, I start praying when this happens because I don't know what to say or do. I want to make myself available to the Spirit to come through me. Try that. It'll work. One lady asked one of those questions. It's a trick question, and you know it right in front. She said, "How do you think Alcoholics Anonymous will work here in the Soviet Union?" And I knew I was about to be had. Any answer I give is going to be the wrong one. So I prayed, and this is what I heard come out of my mouth. It would be presumptuous of me to say anything at all about that. I've only been here 13 days. And they applauded that. Then I was able to say, but it has translated into 144 other languages and cultures. So we do know that it can happen that way. And then I sat down. Our primary purpose is to be honest, isn't it? Let's get away from who's who. Our primary purpose is to be honest and truthful so that people can trust us, because we're on a life and death mission here. And if you trust me with your life, I'm obliged to tell you the truth, which in your case is this: if you are alcoholic, you're doomed. There's no treatment for it, not to this date. But we have a solution to the problem, if you'd like. Okay, isn't it fun? You're doomed. Ah, me too. Ain't a damn thing I can do about my own alcoholism. I tried and it didn't work. That's not much of an answer, but that's the best I can do with that. We didn't do it technically. How do I find a woman to share my life with? Well, that's an easy question to answer. Grow up. Become respectable and responsible. Get a job. Okay. Treat her with some respect. In fact, the smartest thing I have ever done in my life, because it brought my girls into understanding how much I love my wife. She was standing in the kitchen one day, and she just drives me crazy. She really does. Kids are getting breakfast. I fell to my knees in front of her, looked at her and said, "Thank you, Jesus, thank you." And the kids just thought that was funnier than hell. Okay. And came to love me. Yeah, you become a person that a woman would want to spend some time with. That's what you do. And how do I keep AA number one with a non-alcoholic wife? Well, mine's non-alcoholic. It's by understanding clearly that while AA is number one, she is not second. Okay, she knows that. She loves the people of Alcoholics Anonymous. She gets incensed when somebody says something stupid that hurts somebody. She's not number two. And the secret to that is this: when I'm here with you, I'm all the way here with you. I'm not thinking about her. When I'm with her, I'm not thinking about you. I'm thinking about her. Jerry, you look just like Jerry. I'm sorry, I've got a friend in Denver, one of my friendly adversarial friends. You look just like him. Distraction. Does that answer that question? Okay. Grow up. Do you read the big book one-to-one with people? I thought I answered that. That's really about all I do. Yes, I do. I sit down and we go through the big book. Every word. When you're writing inventory, so am I. Mine's much shorter than yours. I have no more tolerance for psychic pain, so I get done with it. Do you sponsor women? Okay, this is a tricky question. Never, never would I sponsor a new female. Do I sponsor women? Yes, after they've grown up, of course. I sponsor alcoholics, and several of them happen to be women. With long-term sobriety, we go through the steps together because that's what sponsorship is. I also become a mentor for a number of women that I work with. I'm Grandpa or Uncle Don. I can take on those roles. Never with a new woman, because transference is real. They will become dependent on me, and I don't do that. Okay, that's one that needs to be discussed more. There's no pat answer for that. I'm very careful with that. It only happens in my house when my wife is there. Do not get compromised, ever. Grandpa taught me about compromise. That's when you put yourself in a position where someone could say, he probably did that, and you have no defense because you put yourself in the position. So don't get compromised. Make sure that even the most mean-spirited person around couldn't say, I think they're doing that. And then you're safe. Who is your sponsor? You are. That's another difficult question right now that takes probably an hour discussion. I believe that sponsorship is the act of taking people through the steps of recovery. At the end of that period, we renegotiate what this relationship is going to be. Bill doesn't use the word here. He uses the word protege, which indicates a mentor-protege relationship, and that's what I understand as sponsorship. Some people think they have to be accountable to their sponsor, and I've been through that, but I'm a grown-up person now. I'm not accountable to any one person. I'm accountable to everybody on this planet and to my conscience. I do have spiritual advisors. I have a financial advisor. I have a number of advisors and mentors and people I respect. I don't have a specific sponsor the way I understand it from AA people now, except that you are, okay? I'm in trouble for saying that several places, and I don't much give a damn. Well, I really don't. Sponsorship is far too important to start putting rules and regulations on it. If I sponsor you, you are not accountable to me. If you don't show up, you just don't show up and somebody else gets your chair. I don't care. If you come back, come on back. I don't care. It's an open door here. I will suggest to you that you do certain things in a certain sequence, and if you'll do that, then you'll be okay. I am a great believer in sponsorship, but there comes a time when you have to grow up, I believe, and become accountable to everybody. Until you get there, pick somebody who's just mean as a snake. Okay, who will cut you no slack whatsoever, who will kiss you on the cheek and then tell you something so outrageous you can't stand it. Pick somebody who will show you precisely how they got that way. Someone you can trust. See, I trust you. Anyway, I don't want to, that's a whole deal that we could sit and chit-chat about. I'm still working through it because I'm having a problem with what I hear happening around the country in AA about sponsorship. I have one friend who's sober the same length of time I am, and he breaks my heart. He has 50 people that have to call him at a certain time each week. He's in bondage to that damn telephone. He can't leave his house. He has to be there. And it's 2 minutes of, how are you, kid? Well, I'm fine. I've still got the same job. Still sounds like you're doing fine. And it's over. That's not sponsorship. Sponsorship is the act of helping people learn the lingo, learn the rituals, learn what the program's about, and helping walk with them as a mentor. Read Jonathan Livingston Seagull. That's sponsorship. He finally learned how to fly and got into the sky where there were only a few birds and Master Chiang. And his awakening was such that he had to go back to the flock in case there were some other birds that wanted to learn to fly. That's all it is. Uh-oh. Did anybody else hear that? Please tell me you heard that. If AA works, why do people keep getting drunk? Because they don't do AA. See, they tried to set me up. What do you say to persons who ask you to take them through the steps that are taking medication for other mental illnesses? I say, come over at 6 o'clock in the morning and we'll go through the steps. My problem, and it breaks my heart, is that I find it very difficult to work with this kind of person because they don't show up. They either don't show up at 6 or whatever it is, or while they're with me, they don't show up. I'm not a doctor. I don't care. I can tell you this from my experience. If you awaken spiritually, you come to your own conclusion about that. In Minnesota, there's a friend of mine who began to sponsor a young girl, 19 years old, who came in, and we discovered along the way she had 102 personalities. She was raised in a satanic cult and had split. She was on heavy psychotic medications, had her own psychiatrist on call 24 hours a day. This was so real, there's one of her personalities is a 14-year-old boy who comes out and likes to burn himself with cigarettes, and I've seen this one. The burn's there. When he goes back in and someone else comes out, the burn goes away. It's that real. 8 of those personalities we know are alcoholic, and we've done the 12-step work on each of them. Hey, you think you're having trouble with the guy you sponsor? Okay. But Erin is clearly an alcoholic, and Monica walked her through the steps, and they got to the 3rd step, and it says in here, we come to a place where we have to understand either God is everything or nothing. Either is or isn't. And Erin decided God was everything. Went to her psychiatrist and said, I won't be back, and I'm taking myself off the medication. Heavy duty stuff it would generally take 6 months to get off of. Not a lick of trouble ever. She's fine. God was everything and took care of that. So if they come to me, you're welcome. We'll try this. But you break my heart every time because they don't show up. Does that help, whoever answered the question? I do not prescribe or unprescribe. That's not my business. We have killed people in Alcoholics Anonymous telling them to get off their meds. People are over-medicated today, that's for sure, but they'll come to that. If we treat them right, they'll come to that. Okay. If they don't need it, they don't need it. If they do, please don't take it away from them. My son needs it. He has a deficiency of lithium, which is a body salt, and if he doesn't take that, he's wacko. So he takes lithium, he's fine. The problem is he gets fine and thinks he's fine, so he quits taking them and he goes wacko again. Do you believe there's a difference between singleness of purpose and primary purpose? No, I don't. If there is, I'm willing to listen to what the difference is, but it's clear. Sobriety, freedom from alcohol through the teaching and practice of the 12 steps is the sole purpose of an AA group. What possibly? I'm really willing to listen because that's a debate that's going on these days, and I don't understand it because I don't see a difference. How do you go about it when a member of AA is married to an addict? I don't know. I haven't had to deal with that. I know a number of people in CA who have been married, and they're fine. I don't understand the question. It's none of my business who you're married to. Would whoever wrote that, can you explain that question to me?
If I'm married to an alcoholic and an addict with zero desire to change, how do I handle the situation?
Oh, if you're married to somebody who is an alcoholic or an addict and they don't want to change, you either learn to live with it or move on. You know, many of our strongest people I know are the old-time Al-Anon members who stuck in with the crazy son of a bitch for years. I wouldn't have put up with it for 5 minutes. Honey, you'll have to find that answer in your own heart through prayer and meditation and through looking at it. Have you had any experience with a group of alcoholics meeting to talk about another member's issue? Yeah, and it's a disaster. Absolute disaster. We only did that once, and then we quit that. Okay. You want to talk about another member's issue? Go talk to that member about the issue. Okay. God, I can't comprehend that, even though I did it. That sounds like a lynch party to me, doesn't it? Jeez. I'm sorry, I don't, my experience is one time and it was such a disaster, we've never done it again. At the same time, in my home group, we talk about each other all the time. But not about issues. We don't have issues. Some people have problems, and quite frankly, sometimes problems are not, what do they say in therapy? An opportunity to grow. Bullshit. Problems are problems. Okay. I need a solution to them. A friend in AA is going through a divorce, so a group of people who have had a similar experience gather to help guide or share their experiences. If that person wants that, that's a very loving thing to do. But this is where I think sponsorship comes in. Okay? I would never think of taking this kind of a problem to a meeting. I take that to a meeting and there's 20 of you there, I leave with 21 problems because I got a different answer from everybody. Now I'm really confused. This is the kind of thing that needs to go to my advisor, hopefully. The main thing is, when this happens, and I see it happening a lot, how are you handling it? What part are you playing in this so that you can get through this with some dignity, and so can they? Okay. And that sometimes takes some advice because they just soon wring their neck, right? Relationships with a question mark. Easy. When your relationship with God is correct, all of the others will also be. And until your relationship with God is correct, none of the others will be. Exclamation point. As a sponsor, I'm a very poor one to if you want relationship help, I'm the wrong guy. I have never been able to figure out how to have a successful sick relationship, so I can't help you. Because most relationship problems are caused by sickness. By one person or both people wanting more than they should have out of this thing and demanding it from the other. There's all kinds of reasons. I don't know. I'll show you how to have a relationship with God and then that other one will straighten out. That's just my knowledge. That's it. Good grief, we're 6 minutes over. In conclusion, I want to say that throughout AA's history, most of our special purpose groups, and these are groups that are formed to handle special purpose, but they're not AA groups. They don't call themselves AA groups. Most of our special purpose groups have accomplished very wonderful things. There's great reason to hope that those AAs who are now working in the grim regions of narcotic addiction will achieve equal success. We have done so. We've helped NA and we've helped CA. We're having an awful hard time with Methadone Anonymous. Lord have mercy. But that'll come around. In AA, the group has strict limitations, but the individual has scarcely any. As a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm very protective of Alcoholics Anonymous. But I will reach out to anyone, anywhere who needs help, if that's what they want. Okay, I can go anywhere and help anybody. Remembering to observe the traditions of anonymity and non-endorsement, he can carry the AA's message into every troubled area of his very troubled world. That's it. If you want the rest of the story, I think it's 8 o'clock? I'm just going to tell my story at 8 o'clock. I appreciate your attention. This was not definitive, I know that. I hope I've stirred up more questions than I gave answers. And I hope you'll talk to me about some things, because I need to know about this too. This is a hot topic in Alcoholics Anonymous right now, and our very survival depends upon our resolving this problem. So, thank you.
Thank you.